Living together is absolutely necessary. It's the eldest son's duty to take care of his parents, isn't it? If you can't do that, then I won't approve of your marriage.
Listen, a wife is practically a housekeeper. It's only natural for her to live with us and take care of everything. If you oppose this, we won't approve of the marriage.
Hearing his parents' stern words, my fiancé's face turned bright red. I held back my emotions and replied with a smile.
Yes, I understand. I will comply.
Who would have thought it would end like that? No one could have imagined. My name is Jane. I'm a 28-year-old office worker. I recently got engaged to my boyfriend Joe after dating for 3 years. I think 3 years is a good time frame for dating, and I'm happy to get married before turning 30. Not that it's bad to marry after 30, but I felt it might get postponed indefinitely. That's why his proposal moved me to tears. The first thing to do after getting engaged is to have a family meeting. At his request, we started with meeting my parents, and his nervousness was palpable.
Nice to meet you. I'm Joe.
He was so nervous, not only I, but also my parents ended up laughing. Well, thanks to that, we quickly broke the ice, and the atmosphere became friendly. After greeting my parents, we were discussing when to meet Joe's parents, but he didn't seem too enthusiastic.
What's wrong?
My parents, well, they're kind of unique. Strong characters.
He said this making a face.
Strong characters? Like they're very assertive?
Yeah, something like that. They treat me and my sister more like housekeepers than their children.
Really?
That's when he started a long rant about his childhood. He never remembered getting an allowance. He had to ask for money for stationery and other necessities. The change always had to be returned with a receipt. He had no recollection of ever being bought snacks, while his parents always bought snacks for themselves.
The money I got from relatives at Christmas was invariably taken by my parents.
Oh, the old "we'll save it for you" trick?
On the surface, yes, but in reality, they spent it on themselves. Suddenly, there would be new brand name items in the house after Christmas.
That's awful.
When I started living alone, my parents gave me a banking card with all the money I had received up to that point.
When we grew up, my sister was the house helper, and I was her assistant or did the heavy lifting. Heavy lifting? Yeah, like fixing things around the house or gardening.
That must have been tough. But I thought, looking on the bright side, this means he'll be a husband who can do all sorts of things.
Well, thanks to that, I can do most of the household chores, so let's share them. And of course, when we have kids, leave it to us.
He was so dependable. That's why I decided to marry him. His parents might be a handful, but he's worth it. I thought I should endure, do my best. Then came the day of the family meeting. With my heart pounding as if it would jump out of my mouth, I managed to stop my legs from shaking and entered the house. There, 2 people stood with their arms crossed. I was taken aback, thinking, who are they? But it was clear they were the residents of this house. So these were his parents,
Dad, Mom, long time no see.
he said, confirming my suspicion.
Nice to meet you. I'm Jane.
I said in a hurry, but his parents silently walked to the back of the room.
Did I do something wrong?
I asked, feeling anxious, and looked at him to find him looking back at me with a troubled face.
Sorry, that coldness is just how they are.
He said, and I braced myself for what was to come, expecting them to be as intense as he had described. Sitting arrogantly on the living room sofa was Aaron. Next to him, drinking coffee, was Emma.
This is...
I offered the gift cake.
Oh, what's this?
She exclaimed. I was stunned by her quick reaction and disparaging words, as Emma quickly opened the box and then clicked her tongue. Did she just click her tongue? Seeing my shocked face,
It's really just cake.
she yelled.
Yes, it's just cake. I'm sorry, would you have preferred cookies?
That's not it. At a family meeting, you're supposed to bring money.
What?
What's that? I've never heard of such a thing. Money at a family meeting. Where does that tradition come from? Her anger seemed genuine, and all I could do was apologize.
Mom, what are you talking about? Why would she need to bring money? Jane, sorry, you don't have to apologize. It's not your fault.
His anger was the only consolation. Emma was mad at her son's words, but she didn't say anything more. As I heaved a sigh of relief,
We've decided to get married.
he brought up the main topic of marriage.
We're young, but please.
Unbelievable. You brought home such an unbelievable girl.
Aaron interrupted loudly before I could finish. Looking pale at the prospect of dealing with Aaron, he stared at me with an upturned gaze while tapping the table with his finger. I felt intimidated.
You're Jane, right? You know, marriage means living together.
He said.
Living together?
I was taken aback by the sudden declaration. I hadn't heard anything about this from him, and judging by his equally surprised face, he hadn't intended this either.
Wait, Dad, what are you saying?
Shut up. You don't get a say. Living together is absolutely necessary. It's the eldest son's duty to take care of his parents, isn't it? If you can't do that, then I won't approve of your marriage.
That's so one-sided.
He was furious at the arbitrary demand, but Aaron was adamant about his condition. Meanwhile, Emma eating the cake I brought and drinking coffee.
That's right. A daughter-in-law should properly manage the house.
She said.
Mom, what are you saying?
I did everything in the house when I first got married. Living together. That's what being a wife is about. A wife is practically a housekeeper. It's only natural for her to live with us and take care of everything. If you oppose this, we won't approve of the marriage.
Emma, like Aaron, said this and continued to eat the cake. The room fell silent. Then, the sound of the table being slammed loudly broke the silence. It was him.
That's enough. Dad, Mom, you always say selfish things. We don't need your approval. We will definitely get married.
If you marry without our approval, you're cut off. You won't get a cent of inheritance.
I don't need it. I'll gladly cut ties.
Seeing him red-faced with anger, I gradually regained my composure. I was initially confused and shocked, but I realized this was not right. No matter how bad the relationship, cutting ties with parents is not good. I tightened my lips and pulled his arm.
Joe, it's okay with me.
Jane?
I'm fine with living together. More importantly, you shouldn't easily talk about cutting ties with your parents. They raised you after all. Without them, I would never have met you.
Jane.
My words calmed him down. He looked apologetic, and I smiled reassuringly and looked at his parents. They both were smirking unpleasantly, so I smiled back brightly.
Jane, was it? Looks like we have a smart girl here. Jane, you understand, right? Living with us and taking care of everything is the deal, right?
Aaron said.
You'll do all the housework. And you must contribute a certain amount of money to the household. If you can't comply, no marriage.
Emma added. Are these people really Joe's blood relatives? While inwardly doubting,
Understood. I'll comply.
I continued to smile on the surface, and so busy days passed by. We didn't want a ceremony, so we just took commemorative photos. My parents were happy with that. My in-laws called it tacky. By the way, all the congratulatory money from relatives was taken by his parents. I safeguarded mine, but his share was taken by his parents, who kept it for themselves. He was furious again.
We're letting you live with us, so we'll take it.
So they always took the children's money for themselves. I then moved into his parents' house, quit my job, and became a full-time housewife. Living together was harder than I anticipated. First up in the family, preparing breakfast. I had to make whatever his parents wanted. This is also something I often eat in the morning. They wanted a lavish breakfast like a hotel, but I cut corners where I could.
These eggs are too salty for breakfast.
Emma would say, but she ate it all and even asked for seconds. Anyway, they're never satisfied without complaining. After seeing my husband off to work, it's time for cleaning.
Emma, what are you doing?
I'm eating cookies.
Why don't you eat them at the table?
I like eating standing up.
Why does she have to stand right in front of me eating cookies while I'm vacuuming? She's dropping crumbs everywhere, and it's in the way. But I can't get over such things if we're to live together. I take a deep breath internally and smile.
Emma really loves her cookies, doesn't she?
That's what I said. This level of nuisance is nothing compared to my old boss at work.
Jane, you left some dust over there.
She says, running her finger over the shelf. It's nonsensical.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
But I just smile and say, this is a skill I honed at work. Always respond with a natural smile. Then even the most complaining boss eventually gives up, thinking it's pointless to say anything. I thought if I keep this up, Aaron and Emma will eventually stop complaining. But they proved to be tough opponents. Even after a year of living together, their attacks didn't stop.
Jane, I told you to make a meat dish today. Why is it fish?
But Emma, you said fish for lunch.
I told you to change it to meat just now.
Even if you tell me that 5 minutes before, I thought you were joking.
I say with a smile and get a glare.
Hey, the wife bathes last, right? Why are you bathing before your husband?
But Joe is working late, so he told me to go ahead.
No matter what he says, you bathe last.
Okay, got it.
Aaron always tries to delay my bath time. Obviously, it's cold in winter. My husband gets angry and stands up for me when he sees their harassment. But it's tough when he's not around. I've been smiling through it, but it's starting to wear me down. A year of this fatigue. How many more years will this hell last? It happened one night when my husband was away on a business trip. At dinner, to my shock, his parents threw away my food. It happened while I was in the bathroom after preparing dinner. I came back to find my meal gone. It was thrown in the trash.
What happened here?
Then Emma smirks.
Oh? Thought you were done eating.
Aaron adds,
It's your fault for leaving the table during the meal. He declared.
that moment it hit me. That's it. I'm done being the good daughter-in-law. That's when I decided to stop smiling.
Well, if that's the case, I can't help it. I'll have to eat this then.
Saying this, I opened the fridge and took out what was inside.
Wait, Jane, that is...
It's the high-quality beef we received.
You can't eat that. It's for us.
What? I can't hear you.
Ignoring Emma's attempt to stop me, I put the beef on the frying pan and turned on the heat. Soon, the delicious smell of cooking meat filled the air.
Smells great.
What do you think you're doing?
Well, this was sent to my husband, right? Isn't it okay for me to eat it? Indeed, it was a gift from my husband's work associates. Usually, his parents would eat everything, and they probably plan to do the same this time.
Stop, turn off the heat.
No way, if I stop now, the meat will be ruined.
I'll eat it then.
As I put the cooked meat on a plate, Aaron reached out for it. I responded by pouring steak sauce all over his hand.
What are you doing?
Oh no, Aaron, you reached out so suddenly, it got all over you. It looks gross.
Don't joke around?
I wasn't joking. I seriously said that steak with Aaron's hand in it would probably be bad and cause stomach issues. Emma also turned red with anger.
Stop fooling around and give it back. That meat is ours.
What? Emma, you're not eating? Then I'll take your meals too.
No.
I have experience in martial arts, so I'm good at dodging movements. I easily dodged Emma's hand, which was reaching out while Aaron was washing his, and took the meals of both, along with the freshly cooked meat, to my room. Of course, I locked myself in.
Delicious.
Jane, open up. Give us back our dinner.
There's some baguette left?
Eating dinner and the high-quality meat, to the background music of my in-laws yelling, was the best. The next day, their harassment didn't stop. It got even worse, but that was expected.
Jane, you'll clean the garden today. The sun is strong, but don't wear a hat as it will obstruct your view. No sunscreen allowed, and of course no drinking water.
It seemed Emma wanted me to collapse. So 5 minutes into eating, I did just that, right in front of the house.
Are you okay?
Naturally, the neighbors rushed over in a panic with my pale face from an excessive amount of sunscreen.
I have to weed or Emma will get mad.
I gasped.
Emma, what are you making Jane do in this scorching heat?
I didn't...
Emma panicked at the neighbors' accusations. Meanwhile, I quickly went inside to hydrate. The cold water tasted so good.
Hey Jane, a daughter-in-law should at least iron. My shirts are all wrinkled.
Sure, with pleasure. Oh, it's burnt.
I happily ironed Aaron's shirt as he insisted on ironing in the hot midday sun, but it got burnt. Well, that's what happens when you leave an iron on clothes. I made sure it didn't cause a fire, and checked the extent of the burn thoroughly. I even showed Aaron all his shirts all burnt. No need for such joyous tears.
I'm going to bathe. Remember, as the daughter-in-law, you bathe last.
Okay, have a good bath.
A minute after sending teary-eyed Aaron to the bathroom,
It's cold.
I heard Aaron scream from the ice-cold bath I prepared, thinking it would be refreshing in summer. Well, that's how I let my natural acts explode. As a result, they asked me to leave. It was when my husband was away, so he was surprised by the turn of events. I said no way, laughing.
I look forward to taking care of you A lot more.
Saying this with a smile, his parents turned pale. Eventually, we stopped living with them because my husband got transferred. His parents, tearfully happy, even paid for our moving expenses. They must think peace will come now. Such a small price for peace. But they should remember, I'm a natural. Just before moving, I met a gossip-loving neighbor. I had been waiting for this chance encounter.
Unfortunately, we're moving.
Oh, really? That's a shame for your parents-in-law.
They're upset. No more chances to harass me.
What?
Remember when I collapsed from gardening under the scorching sun? It was like that. Terrible harassment. I cried out of exhaustion and then...
Then what? They said what a foolish and useless wife. We don't need someone like that. Leave. Why?
Not a lie. They did ask me to leave. I said my farewells to the gossip-loving neighbor. 6 months after moving, my husband got a call from his parents. Apparently, they wanted to move and asked for money. Seems the bad reputation of their harassment spread, making their life uncomfortable. Aaron and Emma, now recluses, had no money for moving, having used up their children's money.
Will you move back in with us?
My husband jokingly asked.
Anything but that. And hung up.
They screamed. Oh dear. Aaron and Emma moved to an old apartment. Living a frugal life, my husband only keeps minimal contact. He coldly replies to requests for money.
For me? What did you do with the money you took from me?
This is a cold response. They can have a lonely old age, their own responsibility. As for us, we're happily settled in our new place. Smiling, I stroke my growing belly. Our family is about to get bigger.